All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this invisible intelligence that, powers so much of our digital lives. We're going to explore the hidden rules that let our devices make sense of the world. I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about how this all works? You glance at your phone and poof, it unlocks. You open your email and somehow all the junk is already sorted out. How does it know? It really does feel like magic sometimes, but trust me, the reality is way more fascinating.
So, the answer to all those questions, and honestly a ton of others, is this really powerful idea called pattern recognition. That's what we're talking about today. It's basically the science of teaching machines how to find meaning in just a sea of chaotic, raw data. All right, so let's get a little more specific. What is pattern recognition really? Let's break down the science of how machines actually learn to see all these connections. So, at its very core, pattern recognition is all about the automatic discovery of regularities in data. And the key word there is automatic. It's not just about a machine spotting a pattern. The really important part is that it then uses that discovery to assign a label or make a decision. So it finds a rule and then it acts on that rule. And this right here shows you exactly how it works in your everyday life. Let's take face recognition. The system sees a pattern. Maybe it's something like the exact distance between your eyes, and then it makes a decision, what we call assigning a class. It decides, yep, that's you. It's the same thing with spam filters. It sees a pattern, like how often certain words pop up, and then it decides, this is junk mail. It's this simple cycle of seeing a pattern and then making a decision that makes this whole thing so incredibly powerful.
Okay, so how do we actually build one of these systems? Well, it's not magic, right? It's a pretty methodical process. You can think of it like a blueprint, really, a step-by-step guide to teaching a machine how to see.
And here it is. This is the blueprint. It's basically 5 stages. First step, you have data acquisition. That's just a fancy way of saying a sensor, like a camera or a mic, gathers up the raw data. Next, you got to do some pre-processing. Clean up that messy data, maybe resize an image. Then comes the really crucial step, feature extraction. This is where the system figures out the most important characteristics. After that, you have classification. That's the moment of truth, making the actual decision. And last but not least, sometimes there's a post-processing step, which is like double-checking your work using other information. This quote right here, it just nails that critical step, feature extraction. Think about it. A photo of your face has thousands, maybe millions of pixels. That is way too much raw data for a machine to handle efficiently. So it has to learn to focus only on what matters. Instead of trying to analyze every single pixel, it might just measure, say, the distance between the eyes. That one measurement becomes a super powerful and much more efficient piece of information.
All right, let's make this even more concrete. Let's imagine we've built a really simple system, okay? Its only job is to tell a circle apart from a square. And we've decided that the most important feature to measure is its roundness. So our system looks at a new, unknown shape and it spits out a roundness score, 0.85. So, what do we do with that number? Well, that number is pretty useless on its own, right? It needs a rule. So we program a super simple decision rule into the machine. Hey, if the roundness score is greater than 0.5, then it's a circle. And since our score was 0.85, well, that's way above the threshold. So the machine classifies the object as a circle. And that, right there, in a nutshell, is classification. Of course, not every problem is as easy as telling a circle from a square. So this basic idea has kind of evolved into different philosophies, different ways to tackle these recognition puzzles. You can think of them as different toolkits, or maybe flavors, each one good for a different kind of problem. The two big classical approaches are statistical and structural. The statistical one is the most common. It's all about probability. It's always asking, okay, based on all the data I've seen, what is the most likely answer here? It's making an educated guess. Now, the structural approach is totally different. It doesn't care about probability as much as it cares about, well, structure, how things are put together. It asks, how is this thing built? So instead of using a bunch of numbers, it might describe a drawing of a house as a triangle on top of a square. It's about the relationship between the parts. And then you've got the third, more modern flavor, neural networks. And these are really cool because they're actually inspired by the human brain. They use these huge networks of interconnected digital neurons to just learn patterns on their own. The wild part is you don't even tell it what features to look for. You just feed it millions of examples, and it figures out for itself what's important. As you can imagine, they are incredibly powerful, but man, they are data hungry. But here's the thing, teaching a machine isn't always straightforward. You might think that just throwing more data or more features at a problem will always make it better, right? Well, not always. In fact, sometimes it can actually make things worse. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, doesn't it? Is more data always better? You'd think so. More examples to learn from has to lead to a smarter system, right? Well, as it turns out, the answer is a surprisingly big no. And this leads us to a really famous and kind of weird problem in this field. It's called the curse of dimensionality. So what on earth is this curse? Well, first off, in this context, a dimension is just a fancy word for a feature we're tracking. The curse is what happens when you add too many features. Your data points get spread super far apart from each other. The space they exist in becomes huge and mostly empty. I love this analogy. Think about trying to find two people who are together in a packed room. Pretty easy, right? Now imagine trying to find those same two people in an empty football stadium. It's way harder. That's what happens to your data. When it gets that spread out or sparse, finding the real meaningful patterns becomes next to impossible. So from these really simple rules all the way to massive networks inspired by our own brains, pattern recognition is this hidden engine that's literally teaching machines how to see. And it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about, doesn't it? As these systems get better and better at finding patterns, what are they eventually going to start to see that we as humans just can't?